Welcome to Delta Lodge Outdoors. Podcast brought to you by Julius Craig. Today we have Tyler with us, Tyler Anzac from Open. Sorry, I'm.
No, you're good.
Tyler, go ahead. What? It's I don't want to. I got situated on your last name, and now my mind's just drawing a blank on me. I went, just out of it for a second here.
Yeah, no, that happens to me all the time.
And so yeah, Tyler with us from Outdoor Made, and we're bringing him in and talk about some of his what he's doing and his products and what he's got going on and in mind. Tyler, are you there with us?
Yes.
All right. So why don't you give us a little bit of background on yourself here, so we can let people know who we're talking to and everything.
Sure. A little background on me. I'm married, got 2 kids. As far as, my love for the outdoors, I actually only kind of started hunting a few years ago. Kind of just dove into it. Randomly, one Sunday afternoon, I was pretty bored, and my dad gave me his old bow, and it had been sitting in my basement for quite some time. And I always walk past it, and I'm like, oh man, I want to shoot this thing sometime. And I was pretty bored, like I said, so I ended up taking it out. Our family owns a farmhouse. And I went out to the farmhouse and kind of just figured I'd give it a shot. And I don't recommend starting out that way because I had a few misfires, so it could have been pretty bad. But eventually I started getting my groupings, and I guess I would say that's kind of what started me on this path in the first place, because once I started hitting the target, I was like, oh man, this is addicting. Then that took me to a place called Whale Tails, which is an archery shop right down the road from me, and started shooting 3D. At that point, it wasn't long until I was like, all right, I want to get out in the woods with this. That's kind of when I started falling in love with hunting. So I'm fairly new to, this, not so much new to like starting a business and everything like that. But yeah, that's a little.
And Ben, you started in Wisconsin, so don't
Yep.
correct me if I'm wrong. There isn't, like, from the South. I mean, time you're big enough to like get in the woods, like you're in the woods and can hunt and everything. Don't they have like a 12-year-old age limit thing with y'all or something? Is it up there or not?
Yeah. So I did do like hunter safety when I was around that age. And at the time, we lived in the country, and the farmer would let me go hunt in his field. But I never did deer hunting. So I had a golden retriever at the time. So I would walk the tree line with her and, just shoot small game, stuff like that. So,
Okay.
And then my dad ended up getting me an Xbox for Christmas one year. And then I kind of, started being obsessed with technology for a little bit.
I understand that. That's why I wanted to see, because like down here, like you're see, my little boys are 9 and 7. They've been hunting for a couple years with me now. I started small game hunting when I was probably 7. I killed my first deer when I was like 9. I took hunter safety. They wouldn't let you take it until you're 10. I'd done killed a deer before I could ever take it, so I took it when I was 10 through like just one of the 3-day courses that they put on. And I was actually looking at the stuff before we got on here, thinking about signing up to become a volunteer instructor for it, just because it's like it used to be offered here in public school also. And
Sure.
I think they've gotten away from it just because of society nowadays. But
Yeah.
but what was crazy, like I took it when I was 10, and when I got in 7th grade, so I was what's that, probably 13ish, whatever.
Sure.
In PE class, we had to take it again. And I was the only one that had it. I'm like, I've already got mine. Can I go do something else for these? Because it was a 2-week thing. We had to do an hour a day. And they're like, no, you can't go do anything. I'm like, but I have mine. They're like, you're going to have to retake it. I'm like, so I got to take it again? I was like, so if I failed it this time, would they like take my card away? Like, what do they do here? But it's like, But yeah, so I've actually taken it twice. Like, because I took it when I was 10. Then they required me to take it again in school. And I just recently switched to like my lifetime license. Like, myself and my wife went and got our little boy's license, and I did my lifetime. Then my little girl's like 18 months old. You may hear her scream in a minute. She's running around here. like a Banshee, and
Mine might come down too.
yeah. We went on and got hers because it was like lifetime for hunting and fishing was like $200 at her age.
Sure.
So it's like, and they've changed. Like I know up there, like you have to get an apprentice license and everything when you're underage or whatever, and under 16, I think. See, they just started something like that here in Louisiana. It's like anybody under 16 has to buy like a $5 license now, and you'd have thought like they shot somebody. Like it was just like a public like outcry about it. And it's like. Look, we have some weird stuff. Don't get me wrong. We have a very liberal deer season, though. I mean, like most of the states allowed 6 deer a year, per season. Yeah. And it's like, one of our public land places, like, there's several others, but one's rifle season starts October like 30th and runs to December 8th, either sex on public land. I mean, it's like, 45 days of either sex on public land. It's like we have some amenities that other states don't have.
Sure.
So it's like $5 here and there, it adds up, but at the same time, because they're trying to get people to buy the lifetime, which I don't really understand why, because that kills your income on it. So I don't know what I don't know what the game plan is, but it's like, but when they started enforcing that, people went to buy they won't enforce that. Everybody's like, well, I'll just buy the lifetime. So their lifetime sales went through the roof, but it's like, but that's lifetime. So what's the end game? But sorry about that going, on that. But I wanted to clarify that because a lot of people, and like I know because I've looked at it and talked to people, but a lot of people don't realize that Wisconsin's like that. I believe Pennsylvania's like that. Some guys I talked to the other day with Elevated Outdoors, JT was like, my job gives us the day off, opening day of deer season. I'm like, okay. So it's that's like
awesome.
That's awesome. It's like, and then Michigan, they still I think it's Michigan. They'll still cancel like the opening day of deer season if it's a school day. Like schools cancel that day in some places. It's like,
oh really?
Yeah,
that's
like
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it's like you get to talk to different people from different states doing this, and like you're seeing it too because like you said you were starting a podcast. What's the name of yours?
It's the Outdoor Made podcast.
Okay, and so yeah, it you'll get to see in that too, and it's like you pick up on little tidbits that you didn't realize. It was like you're like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't realize and that's what's really cool about it. So back to yourself with Outdoor Made. What gave you where did that start? That to go into this business?
Outdoor Made started. So I was working in construction. I was working to take over my dad's construction business, and kind of towards the end, I was wondering if it's what I wanted to keep doing for the rest of my life. And I love working with my hands. I love construction, but just didn't know if that was the path I wanted to keep going. So I had an idea. This was around actually the same time I started falling in love with hunting too. I'm like, well, why not try to do something, related to, my love for the outdoors. So I came up with the name Outdoor Made because I wanted to make woodworking products that were catered to like outdoor enthusiasts.
Okay.
So like charcuterie boards, stuff like that, with anything like that. I'm thinking I'm like make $1 million on Etsy or something like that. But then 2 months later, COVID hit and kind of put all those plans on hold because everything. Well, we all know what happened. So I ended up going back to school, wrapped up my degree, and was going to keep on going. But then I kind of came up. While I was hunting, I came up with this idea for the saddle, which we are now launching, and that kind of gave me the idea. I still had Outdoor Made established. I hadn't, closed it or anything like that. So I was like, well, maybe I want to, go the saddle hunting route. So that's kind of what got us on this path.
Okay. So yeah, we like. You and I have a little background. We talked last week, I think, and we discussed some of this, and that's basically how mine, the saddle's the big thing in right now. Like I said, you're doing that. When I started my idea of Delta Lodge Outdoors, and, it was 2011 or 12, late 11, early 12, and I'd been working with a deer feed that I was feeding and I didn't feed, but I wasn't really producing it for anybody else. Didn't have a name or anything. It was just what I did with it. And I had developed it and had tested it, and it worked great. And a few of my buddies started using it. And myself and one of my buddies, Steven, he's a crane operator now, of all things. And we were texting earlier. He was, because it's raining down here right now, in and out. And so I was messing with him. I was like, hey, you going to get rained out? Like, y'all don't do anything anyway. You're a crane operator. And him and I, long story short, the background you see, was one of our originals that him and I put together. And that's why I threw it as my background for it, because it's like him and I put this thought together. And, you know, we threw the name, you know, Delta being from South Louisiana, then the Flodge, like, we spelled it the way we did it just for, you know, mess with everybody, because people are like, Flodge, like, what is it? It's like Flodge. It's like, that's not Flodge. I'm like, it's Flodge. The U silent. You know, like, and they're like, huh? I'm like, yeah, just it was just this big play on words with us doing. Sure. And when we really, and like, he was like, Delta Flodge, like, deer attractors. And I'm like, no. And I was like, outdoors. It's got to be outdoors. I was like, because I don't want to be stuck in that one genre of things. I was like, it's outdoors. Right. I was like, you know, I fish, I hunt, I trap. Like, you know, several guys on my pro staff, they do stuff like that. And it's like, you know, we're not just this one, like, it's not about just deer feed. It's not just about deer attractants. It's about the outdoors in general, and like being there and like showing, you know, our love and passion for it. It's like, sure, right. I got a great product, but it's like I do a crap load of public land hunting. Yeah. You can't use feeds on that. We have private property in North Louisiana. My wife's family does. I'm, you know, fortunate that her family has just shy of 400 acres that they own, and I have a box stand that's like 4x8 for my little boys. They hunt it. I hunt with them on it. But like, I've never. I think I've made like two hunting trips on it by myself.
Sure.
I go. There's 3,000 acres of public land bow hunting only.
Yeah.
15 minutes from there.
You'd rather do public than private?
I grew up doing it, so it's just kind of public land hunting. And it may have been you also talking about. It's one of those things that's either you love it or you hate it. There's no in between. Right. And you know, I have a passion for it just because it's, you know, and I say this like, you know, I make my own deer feed and attract it. Anybody can put feed out and go out there and sit and wait for a deer. It's great for kids. I love doing it with my kids. I love it. You know, don't get me wrong. But it's also the thing of going out there and figuring them out, you know. And it's like, if, you know, seeing guys that do it on a high quality, you know, just over and over, you know, John Eberhardt's, Dan Infalt's, you know, there's a couple other guys out there, you know, that's just, they're consistent with it. And it's like seeing guys that do that on public land, and it's like, it gives you a respect for it. And like going out there and killing, like the thing about it is like, you kill a, you know, down here, you kill a 2.5-year-old buck on public land. It's hard to do because most of them don't make it to that age because everybody shoots everything. Sure. And it's like, oh my God, they are like, they still that brown army. A lot of them is, it's public land. If I don't shoot it, the person next to me is. Well, he might not, you know, and it's like, and that's why, you know, like we are huge deer. We have some good deer down here. Don't get me wrong. And it's like back in the 50s or 60s, we actually had to import some from Wisconsin because our herd was so low. We imported Wisconsin deer to get the genetics back up. So it's pretty much bred out of them by now, but we go back to that. It's really cool because a lot of people don't know that. And it's like Louisiana, and they had some brought in from Wisconsin, some from like Texas, and I think some from Florida. So we have like different varieties of white-tailed deer because they were brought in from several different states. But it's like, so our rut is like all over the page. Our rut's anywhere from like, you go up to North Louisiana, it might be the last weekend of October, beginning of November. You come down here, the part I live in, and sometimes rut's after deer season. Yeah. You will literally be like bow hunting, and like the first weekend of October, bow season starts, right? And a doe will come out with a, like, you know, like, she'll come out and, you know, like you see her on pictures, you know, like that first week of bow season, you're not allowed to shoot from the October 1st, October 15th, where I live at, is bucks only bow hunting because your does are still having yearlings, like babies that small. You can't you can't start shooting a doe with your bow until like the 16th of October, and all the yearlings, all the babies have spots. And it's like, so you're not shooting one anyway. Cause you go back to the gestation period, they're getting bred in like late January to like middle of February. It's like, so, you know, it's real late. We have a 4-month breeding season. It's like fish spawning, man. You get the different ends of the lake, you know, they spawn at different times. So it's that's how our deer herd is. So it's pretty cool. But back to where, you know, and that's what I said, like in our conversation the other day, I went outdoors because I wanted to be the, you know, it's a broader spectrum, and I didn't want to be just single. And I think that's what you were implying there. That's what, you know, you have a dream and a desire to be, you know, it's outdoors. It's not just, well, we're a saddle company, you know, or we're just a feed company. You know, you want to, and so that's. I think we had the same mindset on that. That was what was cool talking to you the other day. And go ahead.
I did talk about that. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, that's kind of the plan. You know, they're not really sure what's going to be next. You know, I know saddles for the next few years is going to be the main focus, obviously. And then, but yeah, it's just going to keep trying to grow the brand and just kind of see where it takes us, I guess. Whatever ideas come my way. I find that all my best ideas kind of come when I'm sitting in the tree. I got nothing else to do.
Right, I get that. And it's like today, I went to got up this morning and had to take my lawnmower to the shop because a pulley's messed up on it. So I went and dropped that off and everything. And on the way back, I was thinking, I'm like, man, saddle hunting.
Yeah.
It's hard with your camera, you know, with a swinging arm and you're shaving weight for everything else. So like you got a few different options out there, but obviously you can't use screw-in ones to trees. So it's like I've got an idea of one. I kind of sketched it out. I think I'm gonna put it together this week and see how it turns out because it's like, you know, it's like it just, you know, like that. You know, it's like you're just randomly driving or whatever. And you're like, wait a minute, you know, and it's like, better sketch it. I better write this down before I forget. And so I was like, okay. So I got home, kind of sketched it out. Looked at, I got some ideas of how I'm gonna do it. I was like, pretty cool. I was like, Tyler probably like that too because it's like he understands the concept of if you're going down to saddles, you're trying to lose weight and get smaller, but it's like,
absolutely,
you know, it's like they got so, and it's like that gets into like the whole like the one step climbers and everything, you know, the one step aider and everything like that. I use a Eastern Woods one step with a adjustable rope ladder. Then you got several different ones out there, but it's like it's so crazy. Like I didn't get into the saddle world till, you know, recently, less than a year, like knowing about it and literally understanding it. And I was still carrying climbers and hunting lock-ons and everything. It's like, you know, you're carrying a climber. I carry one of the original old mans. It's all aluminum net seat and everything. It's like 19 pounds. It's extremely light. It's extremely light for a climber. Carry it a mile and a half, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, then a lot of times it's like, because like, yeah, you can leave it in the woods in a non-hunting position. But I'm like, man, I'm not leaving that stand. And it's like, so then a lot of times if I'm going to leave one overnight, I carry one of my other ones that's like all steel. They're like 32 pounds. So you're like, man, it's like, so I started lock-on hunting a little bit. And it's like, you know, climbing up doing that. And it's like, then I got a couple buddies at saddle hunt, and one of my pro staff guys does. And like, we put a video out on that on YouTube a couple weeks back. And it was just it's totally different. I'm like, man, this is so much easier. Like, you're wearing your weight. It's like distributed better because it's like even that climber, like a book sack, it's pulling and it's pulling on you. You know, like it puts you pressure points and everything else carrying it. And it's like this is around your hips. You can wear it in, or you can ball it up basically in your fist, size of a softball, and it's crazy. And it's like I was totally surprised at how, you know, and like they're comfortable. Like that surprised me. And then you know, it's like. It's the different climbing techniques are out there. Like, you know, you got guys that obviously use the stick method. You got guys that use a one stick method. You got guys that just they throw the rope over and climb. I got a video. They had a video of the guy. He had his rope over his tree and he had the step aiders, like the step things that go on the ladder. Like, and he just and he's walking up the rope, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, and I sent that to I sent that to Ty, and this one on the video. He's like, man, that's cool. I'm gonna have to try that. And I'm like. Yeah, I want to be there to film that. I was like, I see this going wrong in so many ways for like a newbie. So,
but, me personally, I like I got a pretty good system down with just, you know, climbing sticks, and then I usually start out at the bottom with like an aider, and then I think that's what's most important. Obviously, is just practicing and getting your own system down. You know, because when you first start out with it, it's like, man. Well, I remember the first time I saw a saddle, I was like, wow, this looks really complicated.
I was the same way. Like, I was like, and it's like one of my other buddies, we were talking about the other night, and he's like, dude, I've watched a bunch of videos. He's like, I mean, I watched your video. I'm like, yeah? He's like, I've got a lot of questions. I'm like, well, we probably have answers for you. Like, excuse me, sorry. And he's like, you know, I was like, it's not complicated at all. I was like, you can come over and like, I was like, get with us. You can come try it. I was like, Ty, I'll let you use his and like show you. And one of our other buddies, like, Steven, that's the buddy that actually helped me come up with the background, Steven. I was talking to him. He's like, oh, yeah, I've been saddle hunting for a year. And I'm like, you saddle hunt? Like, Steven's like 220. And I'm like,
sure.
You saddle hunt? He's like, yeah. I'm like, you're comfortable doing it? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like 180, 190. And I'm like, well, crap. It must be pretty simple then. I was like, because like I've used climbing spurs to climb and everything. And like you better be in decent shape using spurs. And it's like people don't realize it. And it's like I've used them and everything. I was like, man, I don't know. Like if I use spurs and I'm going to saddle hunt, some places allow it, some don't. And it's like, you got to be in shape to do this. And it's like, do I really want to do this way? Like, and then so I got I checked it all out, and it's like the best part. The best part's the lightweight and everything. But like you said, you get a method. Like I like my one step setup with I have the like I said the adjustable, and I did all mine on like 15-inch because I'm like 5'7", so that makes it easier for me on steps and everything. And my 7-year-old son, he'll probably. It's raining, so he won't ask me today. But as soon as he comes in, he'll be like, Dad, can we climb a tree? He wants to take my one step, go hook it on the tree, and climb up and sit on the one step. Yeah. And it's like, but he's already got it figured out to go up and down and everything. I'm like, man, if they had a saddle his size, he'd be ahead of the ball game. Like, and we laugh because like he's doing great with it. And he's like, this is so much. He's like, when he first looked at it, he's like, this is the whole stand. I'm like, that's not the deer stand. He's like, well, it worked for me. I'm like, no, you're not taking my stand. I was like, that'd be an expensive stand. Just and we laugh, and it's like that's where like getting into your product here, that's where a lot of people like you step into the world of saddle hunting, and it's like you think and I'm not gonna say it's overly expensive, but it can get expensive quick. And looking at yours, you're in a more cost efficient, area of production from what I'm looking at. I've done looking at your product, and I find that very cool because like you can get out there real quick on pricing on them. And if it's guys that are just wanting to start, a lot of them are like, man, they don't want to sink that much money in something to start. And totally. I think that's where, and I think yours coming in that background, that area is going to be a game changer for you because like you're not breaking the bank right off the bat, and that's big. And I mean, it's you're getting from what I've seen of it, you're getting a quality product at a great value. And and it's like, because I've looked at a bunch of different ones out there, and it's like, you got to be careful what you buy, and like because then you get in that like you said, you got a wife and kids, start shipping hunting stuff there, like and so, nah, it's like go ahead.
Yeah. So and that was kind of like what you were saying about pricing. It's like. Kind of always been the plan to keep it under $200. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that we had to kind of like look at how we're going to do that. And the other thing is we want to keep everything made in America, products sourced in America. Mm-hmm. So that's also part of it. But kind of had to do a couple things. Do you want me to show you?
Yeah.
You want to see it?
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds here. Oh. I hit a button. There we go. Yeah, we got it going.
This is it. Right now, this is just the prototype. Right now, I just have like this bridge on here. Mm-hmm. Is not actually what is going to be the final product. This is just kind of me testing stuff out. Mm-hmm. Ideally, what we want to get on here is an steel bridge. So adjustable steel. That's kind of the last thing we're working on right now on top of like product testing. So,
okay.
But some changes we made compared to help save costs was like getting rid of the tubular webbing, and we folded it up and sewed it. But I mean, I haven't noticed a difference, especially with the steel bridge if we go that route. So there are a couple things we had to adjust to stay under that price, but for the most part, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, and that's
the entry, and then obviously we're actually already working on like more of a premium, higher end saddle.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right, awesome. That's what and like you said, right now you're getting to that, and obviously you've got some other plans with the saddle. I'm not getting too much into your research and development here. Are you looking at trying to do your own climbing sticks or anything, like see where like adjusting them out?
Yeah, there might be some plans in the works for that.
Okay. That's just I don't want to, cause it's like that's like with me with what I do. It's like I've got a lot of stuff I do, and people go to asking questions, you're like, well, but yeah, I don't want to, I don't want to let too many cats out of the bag, but like, obviously, if you're going into that side, you're going in, and it's like, you're going to want to have the ear, and, so yeah, let's see, theoretically, if you're going to do it, you're going to stay in a climb and stick method, and when you do it, if y'all were to go to that route, it'd be several, like a 3-stick, 4-stick setup, something like that.
Yeah, not so much the 1-stick setup, although that may be an option as a variant.
Yeah.
Kind of what I'm looking at right now. So
okay,
we'll see.
Okay, see, and that was sorry, I didn't. That question came to me while we were talking. And you showed it to me.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to put you on the spot with it.
People are going to wonder that because that kind of seems to be the
everybody, like everybody's coming out with their own. It's like, and that's what gets me. Like every copyright stuff, like a lot of stuff's really close, but a lot of it's like you can't really change it. So it's like, how do you know? It's like, the deer feed and attractant world, for example. There's 20 different variants of acorn feed. I don't produce one right now, but it's like I have full availability to. I just haven't went that route. Yeah. But it's like there's how many different companies producing an acorn based feed, and it's like what's the difference in A, B, and C? Like, and it's like that's where, like, because I've looked at doing different things, and like I was talking about with the swing arm on the camera and everything, there's only so many variations you can do to that,
Right.
They're all the same in a way, so it's like, and then that goes back to the stick method. You got to be careful with that because they're all the same in a way.
Right.
And that's what.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, and outdoor like market or whatever, it's all pretty saturated. A lot of this stuff, especially saddle hunting now, that that's one of the things that I was kind of nervous about jumping into this, but I felt the idea was unique enough, and at the end of the day, we just want to work really hard to establish our brand and create our own identity among the hunters, and I think that's going to be, there are a lot of similarities. It's like the people that, but it comes down to brand loyalty too at the end of the day. So it's going to be, your Under Armour buyers versus your Nike buyers. So
exactly. And I get that. I see it with mine, and it's like, mine, most feeds are a brand base. They have a lot of, a rice brand base.
Right.
Cajun blend, which is my original, doesn't. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's a band-based product. No, it's not. I invented it. I know what it is. I know it's in it. Yeah. I know what variants it's in it. And it's like, then a lot. And it's like, what was cool about mine, and a lot of people tell you, it's like, I don't like to use the words hog-proof because hogs eat anything. I don't know if y'all deal with them up there, but they'll eat everything. For some reason, they'll come to my feed, like sniff it and walk off. Like they hate it. Yeah, they will barely touch it. Deer eat a hole in the ground eating it. And it's like, and it's like, and they do it, and it's like, coons and possums won't hardly touch it. It's they're like a hog. They'll look at it. It's because mine's a straight powder product, pretty much, but they don't like it. Something about it they don't like. And if I knew what exactly that variant was in it, I would just take that and sell it to everybody and simplify my whole world. Because and it's like, I was talking to a guy the other day. He had reached out to me, and he had a deer attractant background feed and everything, and I'm like, cool. Like, I don't care. Like, we'll talk about it. And it's like, I don't care if I bring him on the show. And then the conversation started, and he's like, well, we have the only one that's tested and be proven for coons and coons not to eat and everything. I'm like, do you really? He's like, yeah. I'm like, so you're the only one who can say that? He's like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. And that was in the conversation, because I was like, nope. I know, like, you're not the only one. I know mine's not the only one. I know 3 or 4 others, like, that are made locally. Right. And it's like, it's like, you can't say that. And like, that turned me off to it automatically. And it's like, because it's like, like I said, like, I have a product that there's others out there, and that could be as good or better. Mine could be as good or better than theirs. But it's a brand loyalty and building a background and a trust between your people buying it, and, knowing that they can, they're buying a good product. And that's the thing. It's like, and what you're wanting to build there is having a quality product at an affordable price that to get in, then, go from there. And going on, like you said, that's your basic entry one, which looked pretty cool in the video there. A lot of people are going
Thanks.
with the. You're welcome. A lot of people are going with the two, the like a two piece one. It's
Yeah, two panel
the
saddle.
2 panel saddle. Is that
Yep,
something
yep.
y'all be diving into at a later time, possibly?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And so yeah, that's what, because I've looked at the 2 panels and like I've looked at all of them, and it's like I have one that I use now, and I have another one that I'm getting should be coming in a few days, but it's like,
Nice.
and they're two totally different saddles, two different manufacturers, like everything. It's like, and
Mm-hmm.
but I like the design of both, and I was able to like work it out where I could get them, and
Sure.
and it's like it was the biggest thing was the reason. Yeah, I'm one of them. Like my grandmother was bad about it, and it kind of trickled down. If she bought something she liked, she bought another one just like it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of bad about that, but it's like my thing is, I'm wearing it. It's raining. It gets soaking wet.
Right.
You have to let it air dry. You can't heat it up to dry it. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to put it on if it's 40 degrees the next day. I don't really want to put a wet harness on and wet ropes and
Right.
all that. So it's like I was like, I'm gonna go with go with that. That way, and it's like, yeah, that's an odd excuse for some people, but to me, it was, I'm in South Louisiana. It rains a lot,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah.
So it's like, last year, for example, in the first 6 months, we in 2021, in the first 6 months of the year, we surpassed our yearly rain total. In the first 6 months of the year, we had over 65 inches of rain in the first 6 months of the year. I was trying to build a shop, but that didn't work. Like,
Yeah.
I just got it rained so much last year that I started in December. I was going to start December of 2020. It started raining. I got my dirt in December of 2021. I just finished.
Wow.
Then I had to get elevations shot, and it's a whole thing with y'all have counties, we have parishes, government.
Sure.
Just don't deal with government,
Yeah.
And it took me 45 days to get my elevation from them, and
Wow.
so finally got that. I just finished my dirt pad up yesterday morning. No, yesterday evening, Sunday evening, yeah, and it started raining today. So I was like,
man.
hey, at least it's getting wet and it's settling in, so we're good to go. But
Yeah.
yeah, so
There's
but
positives.
and that's me. Like I was like, man, when I get my shop built, I can I can be able to have my office set up out there and go back to developing my feed and the other things I want to do. And that's the biggest thing. Like like you get something started, then you have to stop because of just
Right.
whatever. That'll kill your brand. And I went.
Right.
See, I started mine, like I said, in 2012, and we were growing extremely fast, and life happens, and divorce and other things, and
Yep.
it kind of just froze. I kept the name, I kept everything, just enough to keep it alive, and I had that in the back of my head I was going to do it, and I really started pushing it again this past year. I was like, you know what, the last few months really, I was like, I'm going to do the podcast, getting the YouTube channel going. I think I set my YouTube up in 2015 and had like nothing on it, until recently, and it was like, so it's been active for like 7 years.
Sure.
It's been active for like 3 months. It was set up 7 years ago, but we never did anything. And
Right.
and that was the thing. It's like that's and relatively, getting into it, like you said, like I started off and then stopped. So relatively, I'm young business, old business, but young in the product of doing because I was out for so long, then started back. Yours
Right.
is you're just really jumping into this full time head over heels, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. I'm pretty blessed in the sense that I actually work with my buddies also, so I get to work from home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're like all for me, growing my business. So
Mm-hmm.
they don't really care that I'm putting in, the time there too. And so
See, and
that allows me a lot of focus,
that's the biggest thing, and being able to be focused. And like I'm gonna go back to your saddle here. Like, were you using a different saddle product and then just decided you wanted to tweak it to your own?
The idea came from the saddle I was using. I loved it, but I pack in my saddle. I don't wear my saddle when I walk in, especially because I go through some just really thick, nasty stuff, and I just don't like getting it snagged, whatever. So packing it in along with the ropes and all that stuff took up like half the space in my backpack.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, once the temps started dropping, I use, I use the First Light Sanctuary jacket and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
that takes up a lot of room, plus the bibs, all that. So I was like, what if I had something that, I could have a saddle that I could stash in my pocket, what I mean? Something like that. So that's kind of the idea. I started researching different fabrics and material, stuff like that, to kind of develop something that would be able to fold up a lot easier. Because, a lot of them, what's out there is a lot more stiff, and they're built. I mean, they're super solid, but, they're not always built for packability. So.
Yeah, like, well, mine's not going to be able to see because of the green screen mostly, but
right.
This one doesn't. I like it. You better fold it up. Like, it's not just,
right.
And, but yeah, that's one of them, and it's comfortable. Don't get me wrong, but it's not as compact as the other one that I've used and everything. And it's like then my buddy in the video, he uses a tethered X2 or whatever, and I'm like, but 2-panel, and he like what cracked me up, like Ty's using it, and I'm like, so I'm texting him later. I'm like, what one are you using? And he's like, the XL2, tethered 2-panel. That I look it up. I'm like, why are you using the XL? He's like, well, I wanted more room. I'm like, dude, that's like, you're not that big. Like, why? Yeah. Like, it's not too big for you? And he's like, because this one's like a 32 to 36 or 38 is whatever they call this, size-wise.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
It's kind of, it's big. Like, I have to, like, really tighten it up and everything. I wear, like, 32. I have, like, 32 in pants. But I have to watch this one because it's supposed to be 32 to 36 or 38, and I'm like, no, like sucking it up tight. And I'm like, Ty, you my size or smaller. How are you in an XL? Like, what is it? Like, how is it's not falling off?
Was it the method? Is that what you got? Yeah. The latitude method? Yeah.
Yeah. And the XL, I'm like, is it like you sagging wearing your saddle here, dude? Like, what are you doing? Like, and he's like, no, it's comfortable to me and everything. I'm like, okay, cool. And so, but yeah, this one's, you can tell it's like, it's weird on sizing, I think, just on, and it's because you're trying to make a general, and
right.
And just quite, I'm assuming yours is like the industrial standard rated to like 300 pounds.
Yeah, yep.
And
it's the standard.
Yeah, I asked a guy one time. I was like, why are they rated 300 pounds? And his answer cracked me up. Like I was dying laughing, and he says, well, because the insurance up to 300 pounds is this. Once you go above 300 pounds, way more expensive for the insurance to cover it. I'm like, dude. He's like, no, I'm serious. I'm like,
yeah.
And he's like, I was like, for real? He's like, yeah. He's like, but I mean, I guess the insurance company looks at it. If you're over 300 pounds, should you really be hanging out of a tree? And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, so would you have to have, like, okay. But yeah, that was how he broke it to me. And I'm like, wow. He's like, will it hold more than 300 pounds? Oh, yeah. He's like, and he's like, definitely. He's like, they're all going to hold more. And one of the things I asked him, and like, look, it's like, and something I'll ask you, there's no really industrial standard on like a bunch of practices with them. What would you say? They're like a safety climbing harness. Every few years they need to be replaced, or what would you say their lifespan is?
Yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking. We're like I said, we're still dealing with the company that is like testing the products.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're going to have some sort of qualifier on there just to be safe. Every 5 years or something, retire it.
Yeah.
Because you never know. And it's honestly, I mean, the saddle doesn't even cost that much, especially when you're comparing it to your life.
Well,
that's worth.
Well, exactly. Like, like your regular climbing, your tether and all that has the Prusik knot in it or whatever.
Right.
Well, I switched over to the Kong Ascender the other day just to free up, so you could do the one-handed thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like some people are like, like, oh, that's a mechanical device and everything. And I laughed because I was talking to my grandfather about it, and he was looking at the Prusik knot, and he's like, I don't know. He's like, he didn't like that, and I'm like, I get the Ascender and put on it, and he checks it all out, and he's like, I feel more comfortable with you with this. I'm like, that's mechanical though, it can fail. He's like, yeah, but but that rope just didn't. He's like, that loop flips a little bit, and I'm like. And I was like, he's like, and you can do this one one-handed, like, and I was like, yeah. I said, that was why I wanted the one-handed thing, that sliding that
Yeah.
rope within a rope, because like you're standing on this little bitty platform. And it's like you really can't reach. You kind of hugging the tree a little bit. You don't want to reach back with the second hand, and like it's like now you just it's like it's like the level of confidence just, and it's like do you rappel or do you stick? Well, doing sticks, you stick back down, huh?
Yep, stick back down. I use I tried the one stick method. I did rappel, and I kind of jumped out. Remember kind of what I went back to saying about taking the time to practice with your gear a lot and get your system down. Well, I didn't. I did this mid-season, and I didn't take the time, and I ended up getting stuck in the tree, and I had already like thrown my one stick on the ground, so I'm just dangling there like 10 feet up. I'm like, are you kidding me? Coyotes are howling and stuff, but no, it was good. I got down eventually.
That's what we were talking with the other guys at the podcast with. We were talking about like in your life you're gonna fall. Like you hunt enough, it's a given you're gonna fall. And and we got talking. I'm 37, and it's like I said, crap. Probably the first time I ever put a safety harness on and into like once I got up there and tied off and everything, I was probably in my 20s. Like it wasn't something that we did. And it's like now, and it's like switching over to that. It's like if you can put your one stick up or whatever thing and go to your platform 8 feet in the air, whatever time time you reach up, set it up and go up that first set.
Right.
Then tie off if you want to, or you can tie off from the ground and start up. Just however you feel comfortable. It's like it's different. You can literally be hooked to the tree from the point of walking up to it, and that was like different and because it's like. I climbed, like I said, for several years. Like, I was using a climber when I was 12 years old. Up to, I still use, up to last year I used one. And it's like, I never tie off in my climber. I just, my lock on depends on which one I'm in, I will. And like a ladder stand, like, no. Because it's like, ladder stand, you got to unhook to come down. Like,
right.
Yeah. And it's like, but and that's what we were talking about falling. I was like, man, last year I thought my rope was short enough for my top and bottom, and it wasn't. It twisted. So I'm holding on to the top, like hanging, and can't hardly reach. Like I'm looking for the bottom. It's dust dark. I get it hooked with my foot, and I try to move it back around, and it kicks. So it's at an angle. So I'm like, well, I'll just drop down to it. Hook my feet, hug the tree, pick it up a foot or so, and get my top.
Yep.
The bottom being at an angle works like a spring when you hit it.
Yeah.
When I dropped down, I hit it, and it like ejected me out backwards in like this briar patch. And it was still like 4 or 5 foot in the air. It wasn't high, but it was enough that when I landed, I wasn't worried about the briars. I'm laying there, it knocks the wind out of me. My cousin's hunting with me. He's coming up, and he hears like this ruckus, and he's like, "The hell is that?" And I'm like, "I can't breathe." And he's like, "Hey, you there?"
Yeah, there we go.
And he's like, he hears this ruckus. And he's like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "Man, don't even like. I can't hardly breathe. Like I'm getting my stand." He's like, "Man, what happened?" I was like, "It was like a spring, man. Like when I dropped down, and I'm like, and it's like, man, and it's like we were, you laugh about it. It's like, in your lifetime, you're gonna fall,
right?
And it's like, it's like,
yeah. I mean, I'm glad nothing happened, obviously. And
yeah.
But it's fun when we can look back on it and laugh like that, at our stories. But it definitely is one of those things that, you really gotta be careful when you're up there, and that's what I love so much about saddle hunting. Because, like you said, you're tied in at all times. I feel so much safer. Like when I was using a climber when I first started, and I was like super sketched out all the time.
See, I'm more afraid of a ladder stand than I am a climber or lock on or anything. Right. Like, I'll go up sticks on a lock on, the screw in pegs, whatever. I'll use climbing spurs, go up, give me a ladder stand. I'm like, ooh. Like, it's just something about, and it's like, ladders are not made to climb straight up. But it's like, and that was the thing when I got to really look at saddle hunting. Like I said, I have a 9-year-old, 7-year-old, and an 18-month-old. I looked at it, I'm like, I hunt by myself a lot. I hunt on public land a lot.
Right.
One of the areas I hunt, the main ones I go to and hunt, my truck, when I park and get to the area I like to hunt, is 1.8 miles.
Sure.
So it's like, something happens to me back there, I'm going to have hell getting out.
Right.
Unless I have a pin dropped and where I'm at, you're not going to find me. Or you're going to, and it's not like it's bow hunting only. It's not like I can shoot 3 shots and you hear me and come and find me. Like, it's like,
Right.
So it's like, I was looking at that. I'm like, I'm tied in. I'm safer. And it's like going that route and everything. Then it's like I said, having the one stick and watching my youngest son on it. How like, he cracks me up. Like he'll climb up. Like he'll climb straight up anywhere you tell him. Like or he wants to climb.
Yeah.
It's the getting down that bothers him.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like, but yeah, he likes to climb with it and everything. And I'm like, it's like he's gonna be able to obviously, nobody promotes a saddle as a kid saddle due to the fact of liability reasons and everything.
Right.
And it's like, it's like finding a smaller one, and it's like it's a whole different game of being able to hunt and everything and feel safe because they're, like I said, I was using a climber at 12 years old. It's
Right.
like my dad would go in there with me, and it cracks me up because I'm like, my oldest son's 9, and I definitely I don't know if I would do this when he's 19. Okay? Different times, different kid.
Yeah.
But my dad would go there and I'd carry my stand in, and he'd be like, all right, he'd help me hook it on the tree, and and I'd hook it on the tree, and he's like, climb up, go to climbing. I'd get 12, 15 feet or whatever. And he'd be like, all right, I'll be back at dark to get you. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, and he would go. I mean, he might be 500-600 yards from me, but I was still there chilling in a tree.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, then it's like totally different. It's like, and I look at it now and I'm like, man, no, like he'd have a safety harness, he'd have this, and I'm like, maybe I'm just,
Yeah.
It's like, it's just different. And and I mean, that's where I just was like in awe of saddle hunting because it was, take the weight gain and change out of it. Just, like it could weigh the same as anything else out there, but the safety reasons of it. And, like you can fall or like just step off, you're tied in, step off your platform and you go nowhere. Like it is just,
Right.
Then, like you're, then, the huntability of it, like it changes that. And,
Yep.
so that's, like I said, your product from what like that's the first time I actually, got to see it in your hands there. But I mean, it looks like it compacts up to a softball size. I mean, it's.
Yeah, here I can show you right now.
What does yours weigh?
Couple
pounds probably.
Yeah, it's like a little over a pound.
Okay.
So it's pretty lightweight. It's honestly most of it's like in these straps.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always looking at ways to improve it too. But let me pull it up real quick. This material that we use is apparently like used for like DIY guys and stuff that like to go backpacking and want to make their own hammocks, stuff like that. So it's made to be like super durable. I think the fabric is rated for like 400 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and then all the webbing, that's rated for like crazy strong.
Yep.
We're saying 300. So.
Yep, it's 300.
Yeah. So this is it like right now, but it can get even more compact. But
So basically, fitting a ball cap.
yeah,
That's
pretty much.
Yep.
There it is.
That's why I said that when I say have, I can give you an idea of what it is. I mean, it's just, and and that's like I said, I've seen a bunch of them, and I mean, yours, a lot of them, everybody talks about how accessible they are and how compact they are. Not all of them do that. There's a handful out there that fold down completely, and that's what, that's what's cool about the saddle itself that you're going with here of how. Because I mean, looking at it and checking it out before I ever talked to you, you could tell the way it was made that it would fold up, and that's like that's a big thing. And like you said, you got so you don't wear it you don't wear yours in personally due to the fact of going through thick stuff and everything and it hanging up and your ropes and everything. And exactly, and that's having it where it goes down in the pack and everything. And how do you? And I'm gonna get a little. I want to know some of your how-tos on how do you set your sticks up on your back. You put them to your backpack, or do they hook to you? How do you carry them in to keep them from hanging up on everything?
Last season, I used the Brill stock or whatever, the X2 pack. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but so like I had my sticks on the side, and then carried them in that way with my platform and saddle packs, like I said before. And then when I get to the tree, I got my whole system set up for unloading. So I got like little hooks on them on my sticks.
And hook them to yourself as you go up.
Yep, and then as I go, I just take one and just keep working my way up the tree.
Do you use an aider between each one to get extra height? So
if you wanted,
how many sticks do you carry?
I went with 4 this year, and plus I used an aider at the bottom. So.
That's what I was gonna ask you. So what height were you able to get like that?
I'm like 6'2". I could get somewhere between like 20 to 24 feet.
That's
depending how much I really got to stretch it, but
and I mean that's pretty good. I mean that's just saying it's like that's and going back into the sticks or the one stick but the saddle mainly, it gives you a different availability of trees you can climb. Like that was it's one of the areas, like I said, one of the areas I hunt in North Louisiana, the WMA. You're lucky to find a basketball-sized tree up there. So it's like, climbers, there's few and far between to go on trees. You can get a lock on up there, but it's like switching to this, you've got plenty of, every tree's an option.
Right.
And it's like, wow. And that was one of the things that sold me on the idea of saddles, was because it changes the whole availability of you're walking through the woods, you find an area you like.
Right.
You got plenty of sign. The traditional, now you got to walk around and find a tree. So you've completely blown that area out because you've covered it in scent.
Totally. Yeah.
Now, with your with a saddle product, you walk in through there and you're like, oh, I got good sign. Whoop, I can just climb this tree right here. And it helps with, and like you see it and familiar with what I'm talking about. You can always keep a blinder between you and the deer. Something, and that was, you're not just this blob sitting on the side of a tree and can't move. He's coming in looking at you. And that was, I like that. Then touching back to, you said you use a platform. I'm running, like I said, the one stick with platform on it.
Yep.
What is your thought on like the ring of steps?
I've never tried them, so I don't know. To me, it just wasn't anything I was interested in. But I mean, just like anything, I feel like it definitely has its purpose.
So it's a product that you may be interested in developing through your company. Then that's what you're saying.
Oh, we'll see.
I'm gonna hit you with those. I gotta hit you with that because I mean it's because to each their own. Like like you just said, that like you may go into you may do a one stick and have the ladder, the sticks, just because you don't do it doesn't mean somebody out there doesn't want it and they want your product, and that's the biggest thing, and that's like I said, with what I do, it's like I have my feeds, I have blocks, I have the whole like idea of that. Then it's like I have other stuff that I'm developing and everything. And it's like because I didn't want to just be one, just because, and like I said, I mainly hunt public land, but I've got a feed business, and it's kind of like it's kind of like, wait, you're what? That's backwards of what you're.
Yeah.
Hey, because when it started,
you like the challenge.
Yeah, I like doing it because I grew up doing it, and it's totally different. It's like, it's like. I've hunted. I had clubs I hunted in. We had the private property, and it's like it's something about going out there and wandering around. To some people aimlessly, you're just wandering around, but you're looking for something. Just something, and you know it when you see it, and that's the coolest thing about it. And having the saddle is a game changer to doing it. And
totally.
But
that was my thing. That's what I realized with because when I started, like I said, only a few years ago, I got out there. I'm like, man, how am I gonna how am I even going to carry this around? Because I was carrying the climber. But yeah, no, that's when I got the saddle, that's when everything kind of started falling in place, because I was able to get set up on deer a lot more easily. And, even the doe I shot this last season, I shot a doe and a buck, but the doe, I was able to hide behind the tree, as she came out, and she knew something was up. She could smell a little bit, but she didn't see me. Until it's too late.
See, and like traditionally, you'd have got busted by her probably. Just in a climber or a lock on, you'd have been, you're a sitting duck, literally. I mean, you were just
totally.
And see that's what I like about it. And so with your product, do you your saddle, is it just the saddle, or do you have a setup of like tethers and lineman's rope and everything that you're doing with it? How are you?
Yeah.
How are you sending your product to the public?
Yeah, so right now we're doing the pre-order launch for the saddle, and you can purchase that right now for if you get it on pre-order. It's going to be $199 afterwards. Right now, you can get it for $159.99. So,
Awesome.
and then and then what we're going to do. We're only doing a limited pre-order. So this whole season, it's our first season. It's going to be a limited launch all around. So that's going to be that. And then we have a pouch that we got going. We're going to launch. We got tether, lion's belt, all that stuff. So that is all coming as we get closer to fall.
Awesome.
The saddle itself will come out probably like midsummer. Is kind of what we're shooting for at the latest. And then give guys some, time to practice with it and stuff.
Okay. You were talking about testing. Is it being tested more local to you? Because I know a lot of guys' stuff goes to like a place in Georgia, I believe, to be tested. There's a facility there. Is yours being tested up north or down here for like how where they rate them and do the testing?
Yeah, it's just a separate like scientific lab.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it? But what I'm asking, because a lot of guys,
it's not around here. No,
yeah,
no.
That's what I was asking, because like the only one I know of is in Georgia, and that's why I was asking, because like they like a lot of people that like most of the ones, that's where they go to, and it's like and it's pretty cool how they test them and the thing they do, and it's like they hook like a 300 or 400 pound like circle or thing around it and just
right.
It's
that's cool.
And then they check the stitching and see how it held and everything. And it's like, wow, so it's like, you don't realize how much they've actually tested them and know, because it's not a big thing, because like you said, there's this, like I was alluding to earlier with the safety harnesses, in the industry, the work industry, there's been years and years of testing. Well, there's testing, but it's like, how much is out there, because a lot of people don't know it and don't talk about it. And, it's like, yeah, you're basing it off of principles that have already been tested and proven, with because it's using a lot of the same concepts as a regular climbing harness, safety harness. And I think that's where what is it, XOP Renegade, they had the crossover. It's a safety harness or a saddle. And I think that's, which was pretty cool, because it's like if you get it and realize this isn't for me, it's still useful. It's like
totally, yeah.
And but it was just extra bulk there too, because then that's all attached up here, and it's like it's all built in one. So you've got it the whole time. And it's like I watched a video on it, and the guy took the safety strap, the lead there that you usually hook up.
I lost you.
You there?
There we go.
Hey, he took the lead. Yeah, it just flashed on my computer. Your internet connection is unstable. But yeah, he took the lead that comes on it that you'd use for like your regular tie off when you're hunting like a lock on or whatever, and hooked that to his up top. He's like, hey, it worked. So now I can do this, and it was a video I'd watched on YouTube, and I'm like, he's like, man, I think I'm gonna keep mine this way, because like I have just different movement, and I'm like, that's crazy. But it was like they were in that crossover, because they had, like, as a company, like, do we jump full into it, or do we nibble? And it was like, which is a pretty cool product. And it was like, but it was like that one was, like they have some really cool stuff. That one wasn't for me, because I didn't want the extra bulk. If you're trying to get out of bulk, so and it's like, that's the thing. Like the saddle industry, I think, is going to be, because a lot of guys. How old are you? Like I said, I'm 37.
I'm 31.
Okay. Saddle's been around since the 60s.
Yeah.
And most people don't know it, And it's like they think it's this big thing that just started in the last couple of years. No, there was guys saddle hunting for the last 60 years.
Yeah.
Just, it was in this like tight-knit group or something. I don't really know. Like, because it got mainstream, I guess, like, social media and everything made it mainstream in the last couple of years. And it's like, because the hunting industry and the fishing industry, the outdoor industry itself, in the last few years, with the technology that's come out with Facebook, YouTube, everything, the social media being so big, you're getting secrets out of the industry that wasn't ever the regular guys like myself and you didn't know about. It's like, and it's like you watch some of the, like, if you keep up with fishing, you watch some of the stuff that these guys do, and it's just getting out to the public, and they've been doing it for 15 years. It's like a couple years ago, one of the Japanese pros was at one of the tournaments. and he was doing something that was like, hey, that technique. He's like, oh yeah, and he owned camera live. He's like at one of the big and it was an MLF event, I think. He's like, oh no, y'all are just getting to see it. We've been doing it for 20 years in Japan, and they're like, wait, what? He's like, why do you think we're so good at the like, this technique? He said it's not new to us, it's new to y'all. And it was like, so it's like, with that, it's like you're just seeing all this stuff that you've got guys who've been doing it for years, and they've been successful. It's like take Eberhard. He's been hunting out of one for God knows how long, and his success rate, and it's like a lot of that was because of that. And he's 100% in the scent control, but it's like, but like you said, she could smell you, but she couldn't see you. If you'd just been on a lock on, you'd have been in front of the tree. She'd have saw you, and that would have busted you. And that's the game changer that it brings to it. And you said y'all, and get back into that, you're having, this is like a pre-launch you're having all summer for your product. Is it going to be just is this just the this would be just the saddle? Then in fall you'll be doing like a saddle and rope kit and everything, or how are you going to do it then?
Once we get then at that point, then we'll be doing we'll have a bundle, like a starter bundle kind of thing, all that stuff. So
you talked about the the bridge being Amstel, is the one that's coming out that you're pre-launching. Is it going to be a strap, or is it going to be Amstel? Which one? Because that's why I'm just. Are you going to have it tweaked before then, or is it going to be like an upgraded series coming out?
No, I want to. I'm working on it right now, so I got a contact I'm working with. I really want it to be an Amstel bridge rather than like a fixed bridge. Yeah. I know a lot of guys like the adjustability, and everyone at this point is so used to Amstel, so that's kind of as of right now, that's what I'm shooting for. So we'll see. Okay,
like I said, not trying to get you to give too much information out that but just that way we know what to expect and everything. And this one will probably be airing. It's what's today, April the 11th. We'll probably be mid-May when this one does come out. That way, so you'll be getting closer to your launch, I think, when this one comes out. So that
I'll be posting an update too. So people will see.
And as I said, like we'll and I'll if I can, before we make this one go live, if I get me the updates, and I'll plug it into the here too, where it's where I can be like, hey, check it out, and that way if we come out right before your launch, it's on the web, it's in the podcast, that they know that it's, when they listen to it at the end of the podcast, hey, it's coming out on this date. So try and drop that in there for you to help you out, and I'll put it in the description too. That way, people know what it is, because it's, it looks like a really cool product. It looks like, from what I can tell, and be excited to see it more, and when it gets out, because like I said, it fits in a ball cap. There's a handful of them out there that do that, and that's a big selling point. Price is, the price point's great on it. You're checking off the right boxes for people, and that's a good thing. In today's saying, like you said, COVID, when it hit, shutting stuff down, that was that's affected a lot of stuff, and being able to get materials to do certain things with. So everything happened. It can be a blessing in disguise at times, and a pain in the butt at times. So it's like it's one of those things where I think the market, the hunting and fishing world, didn't take a hit. Unless you were an outdoors person to start with, because then you're like, wait, where are all these new people coming from? Because you go to the boat launch on like a Tuesday, and there's 50 trucks now, and you're like, wait a minute, there was no, it's like I'm not working Wednesday, so I can go fishing. It won't be anybody at the launch. Now everybody's there, and it's still like that. It's like what?
Yeah, everyone found their new passion for the outdoors.
Yep.
Because of COVID. So,
yep. And I saw it
in disguise, I guess.
I saw it in deer hunting, and just hunting in general and everything. I'm like, what? It's good for the industry, because people put money in it. And it's like, it also sucks when you're in a state with, I think y'all have way more hunters than us, and we have a lot, but I think y'all sell way more license than us. But so that kind of sucks too, because then it's there's a lot more people in there, and I was pleasantly surprised, and I say this on, I hope nobody takes this out of context. What I say, I was pleasantly surprised the amount of hunting accidents didn't go up. boating accidents and stuff kind of increased, because they increased. And so it was like, with hunting season starting, you're like, uh-oh, if you're, keep an eye on, you're like, and it was like, it wasn't a big, so it's like, okay, good. That wasn't, I think more people got into the boating than hunting, but a lot of people that hunted at a younger age got back into it, and it was like, and because it's like, people that fished, like, you just go buy a boat and go fishing. And it's like, it's like, wait a minute. There's no, and that's getting into a whole nother thing. Like, and you see it too, like, in this, like, it's like, they did an event here the other day. It was I didn't get to make it. We had some other stuff. It was a try before you buy a saddle event. And they had like 10 different saddles and was showing people. And it's like, you have gun show, you have gun stuff, you have hunting stuff that shows all this. In the boating world, you just go buy a boat and go launch it. Like, it's like, we're not teaching anybody anything. Like, it's like, in today's world, when are they going to start holding, like, somebody's like, oh, it's that salesman's fault. Like, it's like, but it's like, he should have knew I didn't know how to drive this boat. But it's but, it cracks me up. But it's like, that's the thing. Like, in this industry, putting videos out and everything of your product and showing how it works and showing how much safer it is than the other is the biggest thing. And I think you're on the right path of what you're doing. And like, I'm excited to see the other things come out that you're doing. And, like, definitely, I think you got something that's going to be a hit just because of, like I said, I like it because it's so small, and everything. So we'll start winding down here, but I want you to go on and give us the name of your company again. You have a website?
Yes.
Give us the website, if YouTube channel, give us all your information. Hit every plug you got.
All right. The name of the company is Outdoor Made. The website is www.madebytheoutdoors.com. And then you can find us on Facebook. I have my own personal Twitter that I just started. So I literally have 0 followers right now on there. Pretty much talking to myself. And then Instagram, we got Instagram. Just started a podcast also. That's getting all up on Apple, and I think I'm on Spotify and iHeartRadio, all that stuff. So, but that's the Outdoor Made podcast. And then YouTube just started that as well. So that's just Outdoor Made.
Awesome. Well, yeah. See, and that's what, like you said, with the podcast, Apple. That's the hardest one to get it listed on. Like they literally take like 2 weeks. Like, it's like,
because they said this will take up to a day, and I've been checking it. And it's like
it took me 12 days, I think, and then like the picture you see with mine, I had to downsize it because it wasn't the right pixel rate for them, so they rejected it the first time. So I had to go in there, and it's like I had to take that picture, and they have a website you can put it in, and just it adjusts it down for you, and it makes it pass for them. So I had to do that, but it was like 12 to 14 days. And I'm like, even after, like, because the first time they rejected it like a day and a half. Then it took like another 10 days to get it fixed. Like I fixed it and then it took like 10 days to get it. Then what was cool, like, I don't know who you're using to, like upload your stuff through to get to there. But like I use Buzzsprout. And what's cool, I can go in there and like pre-do mine and tell it what date I want it to launch on. Now that I'm through Buzzsprout, and like say when we get done with this one, I could plug it over to Buzzsprout and tell it I want it to launch on like May 25th or whatever, for example. Just plug it in there. When it launches through Buzzsprout, since I'm already on Spotify and Apple Podcast, all those different things, it'll automatically update to theirs too. So like,
that's nice.
Because like, the other day I had one coming out for 6 o'clock, and I wasn't sure if it would upload that way, and I'd set it up for like 6 a.m. and that was on this past Friday, and it went through on that, and because I was going somewhere and I forgot to check it before I left. I'm like, crap. So I go to the Apple Podcast. I'm like, sweet, it uploaded through here too. So then, so I was like, nice. So it makes it, like I said, I don't know what supplier you're using. I'm not trying to plug them in any way. I'm not affiliated with them. I don't, but it was just. It was the coolest thing to me because I'm like, this makes it so much easier, because I thought I had to go in there and click and manually do stuff, and I was like, wow, like
no, mine's pretty much similar.
Okay, and it's like like talking to a guy the other day. I taught YOLO Tech. Are you familiar with them? They make the things that fit on in your boat light that hold your GoPro or your Tacticam and completely charges it. Why
Cool.
it's really cool. YOLOTEK. And I have a discount code through them. It'll be air, and I think it's just capital DFO. And it's a discount code through them, but they got some really cool charging products and everything. But they were talking about like, technology and everything, and like how easy that is to upload this and do this and different sites you can use. And I'm like, dude, you're lucky I'm able to do what I do. Like I am not a tech savvy person. So like when Buzzsprout moved it over like that, I was so excited because I'm like, thank God, like, because it was like, this makes it a lot easier. I was getting worried that,
Yeah.
But like I said, your product, I think get me the information, and we're gonna plug it into here before we release this date, and it'll be sometime in May before this one comes out. And we're gonna go from. I'll probably drop this video over to YouTube in a little bit, just to put it on there, and start getting some stuff out. And then the podcast itself will go out on Apple and all that sometime in May. I'll give you an exact date when I go through there and look at it, and that way you can get me the dates and I can plug it into here and everything, so that we get some advertisement in there for you, and
Perfect.
some recognition. And when will your podcast? How many episodes you got out? Like what you got going on? Just one?
Just one so far. And in that one, I kind of just dive in a little deeper based on everything that we talked about today.
Okay.
Just kind of going on like my background and how I got started in hunting. Because, a lot of, like so many of these guys, you too. You've been hunting since you were a kid. And my story's a little different, So, but I think that's what's cool. And that's kind of going to be the focus for my podcast, is going to be kind of the stories. Everyone's got their stories, from their outdoor experiences, and it's going to be. I want to focus on their stories and like how those all unite us, like as our love for the outdoors.
Exactly. It's like I've got several friends that want to come in and do them. It's like sit there telling stories and just BS, and is like and it's like. You'll look up and you're 3 hours into something. You're like, oh crap! Like it was supposed to be, and it was like that's what, because everybody's got a story in it. It's like I said, I'm 37 and I've been first time on squirrel hunt I was like 7 probably. So I'm 30 years into this and I'm young. And it's like, it's like my brother-in-law is 35. I think he's been hunting like the last 5 to 7 years. He didn't really hunt growing up. It wasn't something they did. And he's dove into it and loves it. And it's like watching him do stuff, and it's like, it's really cool. He's killed some great deer, and it's like seeing him develop. He's developed at a fast pace, but it's like, I chuckle because I'm like, I forget how long I've really been doing it. And it's like, and it's like, and I've been on public land the entire time. Like one of the place I went small game hunting is actually, the state doesn't even have it anymore. It's not public land anymore. It's private, like 5 different hunting leases now. And everything. It's like it was called Ben's Creek. It was wildlife management here. It was really cool. We went there. It was like 45 minutes from my house. We went there every weekend during season. Yeah. And it was, I think, 12,000 acres, whatever. It was really 12, 14, really cool to go to. And it doesn't exist anymore. But it was like, that's where I cut my teeth and learned. And it was like, And the video I put out the other day of I just in a recap of going scouting on my YouTube channel, that was a complete bust. Like it was like, historically that place holds all kinds of deer sign. Last year it had high water. The year before that, Laura kind of devastated the hurricane. I found 2 or 3 rubs in there, and they were like 3 years old. Usually you find rub on top of rub, and I was like, what? And like the podcast I did with Dan Infalt, that was the area I discussed with him about, hey, and like he's go check these areas. I'm like, holy crap. It's just, it wasn't there, but it's like, but I've been hunting that place since I was 12. It is like, and to see how much it's changed, it's public land, it's, huge. It's over 60,000 acres of public land. And it's like, just see how much it's changed. But it's like, I forget I've been there, 25 years, 20 years, whatever, hunting. And I'm like, man, like, I take it for granted that, I go talking to somebody and that they haven't been doing as long as me. And it's like, growing up down here, like we was talking about earlier with the 12-year-old rule there. And like we started, even if you started at 12, like being able to deer hunt, you go to Louisiana Sportsman magazine and they got like 4-year-olds holding their rifle. They done shot this deer this year. And it's like, like, I laugh because that's what a guy I met in Grand Isle fishing one day. He had like 4 or 5 kids. He's like, and they were all grown. Like the youngest was like 16, but he's like, and they were like 16 to 22. And he had 5. It was 4 boys, I think. He's like, what was great about them when they were little? I'm like, I didn't have any kids at the time. I'm like, no, sir. He's like, limit extenders. I was like, limit extenders? He's like, yeah. He's like, each one of them get their own limit of trout and redfish. He's like, and I'm like, this dude here, like, he's like, that was why I had kids. I'm like, limit extenders. Never heard it put that way. And he's like, that's why I bring them now. They're limit extenders. I'm like, so now I pick at mine all the time. Now I'm like, come on, I need my limit extender. But it's like, we laugh because it's like, you take your kids fishing. It's like, that's your limit. And it's like, but he had that camaraderie with his kids. But he's like, that's my limit extenders. I'm like, dude, that's messed up. But they were all grown, and that's what they all, it was really cool. But I enjoyed this podcast with you. I'm start cutting my stuff off in a second. But stay there, and we're gonna start ending here. So this is Julius Craig with Tyler. I'm with Delta Lodge Outdoors podcast. Tyler is doing Outdoor Made podcast. So check it out also.
Recording stopped.